Upstate.
Well, the news came down yesterday, Gamecock fans, and I know that some of you may not have been tuned in at 6:45 last night, right before the show came to an end, but want to hear from you today. If you are a Gamecock fan in the Upstate, in Spartanburg, in Greenville, in Anderson, let your voice be heard. Let me hear that rooster crow, and I want to know what your thoughts are now that Monte Lee has officially been out, axed, fired from South Carolina, and the search truly begins as they have decided, Jeremiah Donati and company have decided they will not be going in-house. Monte Lee, Terry Rooney and company all out at South Carolina. So that's the big news. We've got a lot to get to, but the big news is Monte Lee, and I want to know how you Gamecock fans feel at 844-326-3663. From my mentions on Twitter and a lot of things, a lot of comments on our Facebook page. I'll tell you this, I'm surprised to see so many people on the side of Monte Lee. And again, Monte's a great guy. Like, he's forgotten more baseball than I'll ever know. So I'm not discrediting what he is as a baseball coach. Things just haven't worked out for that guy, though, in this state. I know he has had success as an assistant before, but man, they just haven't worked out. Like Clemson, look what happened with Monte Lee and Clemson. It never worked. And eventually he was dismissed from Clemson, and then he comes to South Carolina and he's on staff for several years, and it doesn't work. And then all of a sudden he becomes the head coach after Palmetto's fired, and nothing really changes. They were a little better, but look, I know that it might not be totally fair to judge Monte Lee on the results of this season because it's not his program, it's not his team. I get all of that. But Monte Lee, for those out there that do like the guy, that have defended him, I just don't know that I can side with you in terms of what the hoopla is all about. Again, I'm not saying he's not a good coach. We talked about this. Diesel and I talked about this a few weeks ago. Just because you fail at something doesn't mean specifically in this case coaching. Just because you fail at coaching doesn't mean you're a bad coach at one spot or two spots. You can still be a good coach. We live in a society, a world in sports where we throw that around far too often. If somebody fails as a coach, we just automatically label them as a bad coach. And that's just not the case. Are there cases? Are there instances and scenarios where guys just aren't that good a coach? Yeah, there are. But there are also a lot of scenarios across the sports landscape. I'm talking any sport out there, football, basketball, baseball, where sometimes the situation just doesn't work out for a good head coach. That can happen in the NBA, college basketball, college football, high school, whatever level. Sometimes things just don't work out, and that doesn't mean they're a bad coach. I think at the end of the day, Monte Lee's a solid coach. He knows the state. He's from here. He was born right in Spartanburg. He's a Spartanburg born, bred South Carolinian. He's a South Carolina guy. He's been in South Carolina. He's got family here, but things just didn't work out. Things didn't work out at Clemson. Things didn't work out at South Carolina. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I don't think he is a bad coach. I think he's a good coach. But being a good coach isn't enough anymore, to be quite frank. Being a good coach in this new era of college athletics just isn't simply enough anymore. You've got to be so much more than a good coach. And I think when you put a theme on what happened at South Carolina for Monte Lee and what happened at Clemson, I think that's where I land. I'm not an expert. I watch a lot of sports. I follow and cover a lot of sports. But I'm not the end-all be-all, so I'm not saying what these words that come out of my mouth are the end-all be-all by any means. But I think to summarize Monte Lee in this new era, in this new landscape of college athletics, I would simply say being a good coach isn't good enough. Being a good coach isn't enough. There's so much more. There's so much more. And look, if Monte were to be named the head coach and he had the program, could things have gotten better? Yeah, I mean, I think they could have gotten better. I don't think that they would have stayed the same where you win 6 games, conference games. You won 7 conference games last year. I think Monty would have been better than Paul Mainieri. Do I think Monty's the ultimate fix? No, I don't. Ultimately, he's been there too long in recent years. And a lot of these failures fall back on him. They just do. So, again, no hate toward Monte Lee from me. I respect the guy tremendously. But I think, I put it on Twitter last night, I think South Carolina made the right move. And John Whittle of Gamecock 247, who we had on the show yesterday right before this happened, he broke the news. He had it first, and it went Twitter. It went crazy on Twitter last night. This news did. The quote was, "The entire on-field coaching staff for South Carolina baseball has been fired. Gamecock 247 has learned that interim head coach Monte Lee, pitching coach Terry Rooney, and assistant coach John Hendry have been informed by the administration that they will not be returning to the program." That was the big news yesterday. That tweet is on my account at @Bryson. If you haven't done so already, make sure you give me a follow there. You can follow us at @TheFanUpstate as well. Monte Lee out as head coach, and I've got some audio to get to. He was on Phil Kornblut's show last night on Sports Talk Media Network. Good friend of our station. We love Phil. Phil loves us. We come on, or Phil comes on this show. Smitty comes on my show as well, or our show, and we do a lot of back and forth. They're good guys down there. And Smitty's actually coming on the show today at 4 p.m. So here in about an hour, Smitty, good friend of the show from Sports Talk Media Network, will come on the show to talk about all this. But I do have audio from last night's interview, courtesy of Sports Talk SC and Phil Kornblut. This was live on their show, and credit to Phil for having Monte Lee on last night as soon as this happened. That was a really good get from Phil Kornblut. But I've got the audio. We'll get to that. I will break it up as needed, question by question, and we will react to what Monte Lee said, because there's some really good stuff here. There's some really good answers by Monte Lee. I thought it was a great conversation, and there's a lot to be said about Monte Lee and South Carolina baseball and where they go now. On the Joy Law Firm text line at 844-326-3663, Keith and TR gets in. Good to hear from you, Keith. Appreciate you toloing. Keith says, "I think they've already fired him. They have a yes from somebody, and being so quick, I think it's a top option on the Naughties list." That comes from Keith in TR. Let me say this, Keith. I don't totally disagree with you. I just don't know that I believe they already have a yes. Like, here's the deal. Kevin Schnall is still coaching. They're going to be in a regional. They're going to be playing for another couple of weeks, right? I don't know. And I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying I don't know, and I don't believe that Kevin Schnall has already told Jeremiah Donati yes. Could he have? Sure. But you're talking about a guy who is in the middle of the most important part of the baseball season at Coastal Carolina. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying it would shock me. It would shock me if Kevin Schnall has already told Jeremiah Donati yes, while their team is still playing and their team's in the Sun Belt tournament. It would really, really surprise me if that were to happen. Coastal Carolina's had a pretty good year. Had some big wins, 37-20 overall, 21-9 in the Sun Belt, right? They beat App State last night. Pretty good App State team. They beat Louisiana, they play Louisiana today at 4 o'clock. So that game here in just a few minutes in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. They already lost to Louisiana once down in Montgomery on Wednesday by a score of 12-11. So they're going to try to get revenge. That was a very high-scoring game between Coastal Carolina and Louisiana on Wednesday. But they did beat App State last night 8-2 in Montgomery. They play Louisiana again today at 4 p.m. We'll keep you updated on that. But I just don't know that I believe Kevin Schnall has already told Donati yes. Now, that doesn't mean there's not interest, Keith. That doesn't mean there's not interest. Here's what I believe. I believe, Keith and TR and the rest of Gamecock fans out there, I believe that Jeremiah Donati without a shadow of a doubt, knew that it wasn't going to be Monty a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I think Donati's mind as AD at South Carolina was already made up. I think he knew it wasn't going to be Monte Lee, so he knew there was no reason to keep pulling him around on a string. And in this audio you'll hear in just a second, I think Monte Lee appreciated that. Yes, it sucks being fired, but I think Jeremiah Donati's mind was already made up that he did not want Monte Lee as the next head coach, that he felt like he thought it was best to almost clean house, almost start over, almost have a clean reset, which, by the way, I think that was the right move as well. I do. I just don't believe, and again, I could be wrong on this, Keith, and others. I just don't believe that Schnall's already given Donati a yes. Not right now. Not in the middle of conference tournament. Not with the regionals beginning 1 week from today, by the way. Coastal, I believe, will be on the road. I just don't believe they've given him a yes. Could there have been talks? Maybe. I doubt, though. I seriously doubt so. You're in the middle of your season, the most important part. Maybe there was a one or two little small talks. There might have been. I'm not saying there wasn't. I don't think there have been any serious conversations yet. I don't. Now, that doesn't mean that Schnall couldn't have gotten word to Donati that he was interested, right? That doesn't mean that he couldn't send a carrier pigeon and let the AD down there know that I am. That doesn't mean that nothing happened. No backdoor conversations happened, but all I'm saying is I just don't think they've had a tremendous amount of conversations as of yet. I don't. All right, let's get to this audio. This was from last night. Again, audio courtesy of Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut had Monte Lee on the show last night, and we will listen and react to that audio.
Well, thanks for having me on, Phil. Look, it's a tough day. There's no doubt about it. Anytime the season ends is tough. Look, when the season ends and you get the news that we got today that, they're going to go in another direction in regards to the leadership of the program. That's a tough pill to swallow, but we also, as coaches, we know what we signed up for, Phil, and we know that this is a business and it's a tough business and you have to win. You have to win to be able to keep your job. And I understand that. I respect Jeremiah Donati an awful lot just based on how he's treated me, how he's handled the situation. He's been nothing but a pro, and I would love to be able to assist whoever the next leader is in South Carolina in the transition any way that I can. I know they'll hire a great head coach and assemble a tremendous staff to lead the program moving forward. And you got to be grateful for all of it, Phil. When I was 15 years old, we took a van from Lugol, South Carolina with my high school baseball team to Sarge Fry Field to watch South Carolina play Clemson. And my high school baseball coach asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to coach baseball for a living. And that's never changed. I'm sitting here many, many years later. I've been blessed to be a part of several great programs, all right here in the state I was born in. So, my thought process has never changed. As tough as it is, I have to be grateful for all of it because it's been a wonderful ride, and I'm just looking forward to the next opportunity, wherever that may be.
So again, I've said this a million times, and this is why sometimes firings are hard. Monte Lee is a great guy, just like other coaches in the state. And I will say, we're fortunate to have a lot of good coaches. Shane Beamer's one of them. Dabo Sweeney's one of them. We have a lot of just good freaking people. We do. And you hear Monte Lee talk, and we've interviewed him. We've had him on the show. I've talked to him. He's a super down-to-earth, nice guy. He's from here. He's one of us. If you see him out and about, he'll talk to you just like I'm talking. I mean, he's just one of us. He doesn't think of himself, super high. He's just a great guy. So it makes it tough. You hate seeing – look, every story is going to end, whether it's your story or every story ends. Only in movies and TV shows do they end well, right? And sometimes in sports they end well, like they end good. Coaches can go out on highs, but most of the time they don't. So sometimes it just doesn't work. And what sucks the most is Monte Lee, being a guy from this state, he was given an opportunity to coach in this state at both programs, both premier programs, and he failed at both. That doesn't make him a bad coach, though. It doesn't make him a failure as a person. It's just, it's tough. And not to mention, he was the head coach at Charleston as well. So he's been toward a South Carolina, right? He was at college at Charleston, 2009. In the second season, the Cougars broke the 40-win mark. They were in the NCAA tournament. So he had success there. He did. And then he goes to Clemson, and he was their 28th head coach. And a lot of people thought, oh, man, what? I remember when Monte Lee got hired at Clemson, South Carolina fans were livid because that's who they wanted, right? He just didn't work out at Clemson. They had highs, but they also had lows as well. And they had conference titles mixed in there. But, you know, he just ultimately it didn't work out. And then he returns to South Carolina as an assistant in 2023, I believe. And again, this crack that he got at the head coaching job wasn't a fair opportunity because it wasn't his team, wasn't his program. But guys, Tolos, he has had so many chances. I mean, who else is going to be able to say they were the head coach at Charleston, Clemson, South Carolina, served on all three staffs? Not many people. It just didn't work out. Didn't work out at South Carolina. Didn't work out at Clemson. You hate it for him because he's a good guy, though. You really do. More audio. Let's see what Phil's next question was. Again, if you just tuned in, audio from last night on Phil Kornblut's Sports Talk SC, audio courtesy of Sports Talk Media Network. Here was the next question.
So did you at least expect that you would have a formal interview with Jeremiah Donati? Is it a little bit, did it come as a little bit of surprise to you that they just closed the door on that? Or did you sense that your interview was basically coaching this team ever since Paul Maneri was let go, and that was going to be your sort of formal interview? Or did you think you'd have a chance to sit down man on man in the office with him and maybe present your vision and your plan for the future?
Well, you know, when Jeremiah and I met, when everything happened with Coach Maneri, Jeremiah and I had an opportunity to spend some time together that following Monday. And look, he was very upfront and honest with me and very professional with me. He said, hey, look, you're, you know, we certainly, you know, want to see potentially, you know, if you would be a fit. And, you know, as we get to the end of the year, you know, I'll certainly, you know, make a decision as to, you know, whether we bring you in for an interview. And he also said, hey, look, but if I at any point in time feel like we're going to go in another direction, I'll tell you immediately. And I respected that. So to answer your question, no, I wasn't expecting anything more than him just to be upfront and honest with me once the season ended in regards to what direction he wanted to go, whether he, A, you know, wanted to give me an interview, or B, he knew that he was going to go in another direction. And I appreciate the fact that he did it, you know, the way that he did it, that if I was not going to be a candidate for the, you know, for the position, that he was going to let me know that as soon as possible. And I respect that. That's the way you should be handled as a professional, you know, right away. I think that I didn't want anything to linger and sit. I just, you know, I appreciate the fact that he met with me as soon as possible and just let me know that he was going to go in another direction. He was very professional about it.
So no bitterness, no animosity there, as you heard from Monte Lee, in terms of how it all went down with Jeremiah Donati. And that's good to hear, right? You want things to be done the right way. You just don't know sometimes if they will. Sometimes they are. Unfortunately, sometimes they're not. So you do appreciate the fact, like if you're a Gamecock fan, you do appreciate the fact that things were handled the right way. And you heard there right there in Monte Lee's answer that Monte was never promised anything. He was never promised anything. So I think that's a positive when you look at this guy that's leading your university from an athletic standpoint, in Jeremiah Donati. You want to have confidence in him. Jeremiah Donati, though, really hasn't made enough big hires he hadn't had to yet for you to really judge him. So you're kind of like the jury's still out a little bit, right? But this is a positive. I think it was handled the right way from what Monty said and what Coach Lee talked about there, and that's a good thing. That's the way you want things handled, and it doesn't seem like things were handled poorly per se. But really interesting stuff. More audio on the other side from this. More reaction. 844-326-3663 is the Joy Law Firm text line where you can get in. The phone line's open as well. Texter from the 285 gets in and says it was the right move. Clean slate, it's time. And Texter, I agree with that 100%. Right move to clean house, start with a clean slate. We continue the conversation, the reaction, more audio from Monte Lee, and your thoughts next right here on the Fan Upstate. Well, Monte Lee is out at South Carolina. That is where we went in the very last segment. And if you just tuned in and didn't catch the tail end of yesterday's show, the biggest news of the day pertaining to this state of South Carolina, Monte Lee not retained at South Carolina. Terry Rooney and a couple others on the way out as well. Terry Rooney, the pitching coach, I really did not have any good feeling that he was going to be retained. I assumed that he would be Gone as well, and he was. So Terry Rooney out with Monte Lee. The official quote that I tweeted out from Gamecock 247 yesterday, the entire on-field coaching staff for South Carolina baseball has been fired. Gamecock 247 has learned that interim head coach Monte Lee, pitching coach Terry Rooney, and assistant coach John Hendry have been informed by the administration they will not be returning to the program. We've got audio that we're getting to. This is some good stuff. Audio courtesy, by the way, of Phil Kornblut and Sports Talk Media Network. He had him on last night as soon as he had Monte Lee on. Phil did. Phil had Monte Lee on the show as soon as the announcement was made within the hour. So great get from Phil Kornblut. And let's jump back into some audio from that listen and react. Monte Lee and Phil Kornblut last night. Oh, my bad. Let me try that again.
Clean house. They need to, cut the ties from the Tanner era. And this was one thing, I guess, that people would use against you since you were connected to Coach Tanner and the idea of cleaning house and going in an entirely different direction. My response to that is, well, they did that when they brought in Mark Kingston, and they followed that up with Paul Maneri. Even though it was Ray Tanner doing the hiring, he was getting away from his coaching tree in doing that. So I think that sometimes you stay connected to your successful past. It's not always a bad thing. Had you had the chance to sit down with him, let's just say hypothetically, you had a chance to sit down in his office, sort of like Dabo Swinney did when he had to sit down with Terry Don Phillips and win him over about the job at Clemson, the football job. What would you have presented to him?
Well, I would have told him how, as the leader of the program, what the standards would have been for the program, what type of culture I would want to create, what types of players I would want to recruit, and where I would want to, target to get those players. I would share with him, obviously I'm going to surround myself with a tremendous staff. Look, you used Dabo Swinney as a reference. Look at the staffs that Dabo Swinney, has had at Clemson. Look at the staffs, and I'm certainly not, I'm not trying to compare myself to Dabo Swinney by any means, but I think any head coach is going to be successful. You have to surround yourself with really, really good people. And, that would be a big part of my message, is that I would surround myself with elite recruiters and elite pitching coach who could develop talent. And we would do things. We would do things the way that I think they needed to be done. And look, Phil, I hope to get a chance to be a head coach somewhere. I have 14 years experience as a head coach. And, like I've said before, I'm certainly not saying I deserve to be the next head coach of South Carolina. I never said that. But what I can say is what I've done as a head coach. And in 14 years as a head coach, you can look and find it. I've had success as a head coach. I've had some tough years too. The end of my time at Clemson, was tough. But I had a lot of good years, as a head coach as well. And I feel like I can lead a program and coach at a high level. And I hope I get an opportunity to do that again somewhere. And it's not going to be at South Carolina, and that's okay. I'm going to be okay. I've got a daughter that lives in the upstate. I got one moving to Charleston. My mom lives an hour and a half away. All my relatives live here. My life is here. I've got a great quality of life. I'll be just fine. I hope that I can land an opportunity to coach somewhere and just try to make an impact like I always have.
So that was a great answer there. And Monte Lee said a lot there. The first thing I wanted to get to in Monte's answer with Phil Kornblut from last night was the part about him not saying he never, or let me rephrase that. The part about Monte saying that he had never come out and said he deserved to be the next head baseball coach at South Carolina. I do find that interesting that he brought that up there. You know, we said it yesterday, or I said it yesterday, and again today, he's had success at different places. He said it right there in that audio, too, that you just heard. He's also had failure at different places. But a couple of weeks ago, just about a week ago, you heard Monty when asked in a post-game press conference why he thought he should be the next coach at South Carolina. You heard his answer. And of course, like, that's his job. That's his job to campaign. It's his job to for him to put the words out there so that if his bosses are listening, they can understand why he thinks he should be the next head coach, right? Because guess what? That's part of his job interview. He did not get an official job interview with Jeremiah Donati this go around. So what he did on the field this season and that answer that he gave a week or two ago in that postgame press conference, that was it. I mean, that was part of his interview. And I'm sure Jeremiah Donati heard it and listened to it. And I'm also sure that Jeremiah Donati thought long and hard about it. But like I said a few minutes ago on the show, I don't believe that this is something that's just come up in the last couple of days. I think Jeremiah Donati has known for the past couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, that this staff was not going to be retained. And a lot of people were surprised to see this happen, so quickly yesterday, but not me. I mean, and I say that because think about it. If you're the AD at South Carolina and you knew that you were going to go in a different direction 2 to 3 weeks ago, why would you toy around with Monte Lee? It's not the professional thing to do, right? It's not the right thing to do. And like I said last segment, it's a good sign that you saw Jeremiah Donati treat this with the utmost professionalism. You saw or you heard Monte Lee just a few minutes ago talk about how Donati was very professional with him and did things the right way. And then the second part of what Monte Lee said there that I thought was interesting was he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And he means probably, I would imagine, not putting words in his mouth there, I imagine he means financially, emotionally, spiritually, all those things, because he's made millions over the years. He's made a lot of money. So if he's managed his money properly, and I would imagine he probably has, he's obviously fine, but he loves the game of baseball. He wants to coach baseball, and he wants to land on his feet. Now, the problem for Monte Lee is he's running out of colleges in South Carolina, right? I mean, there are not many more coaches or colleges in South Carolina for Monte Lee to go to. He's already been at College Charleston. He's already been at Clemson. He's already been at South Carolina. I mean, there just aren't that many other programs out there. He hadn't been at Coastal yet. Huh? You just want to trade coaches? You just want to do a little trade-off? I mean, wouldn't that be funny here in a couple of weeks? Just a good old-fashioned trade-off. South Carolina gets Kevin Schnall. Coastal Carolina gets Monte Lee. I don't know. I don't know if that would happen, but I don't know if it's out of the realm of possibility. Like, if Coastal's going to have a wide net to search from, because Coastal is a very good job. They won a national championship more recent than South Carolina has, right? It's a very good job. They're going to have some top candidates down in Conway for that job. That is a wonderful baseball job. What, $550,000, $600,000 a year job, whatever it is, whatever it pays, whatever Kevin Schnall is making right now. It's not the same money as obviously what Kevin Schnall could make at South Carolina, but it's about the same money that Monte Lee was making this past year. Monte Lee, let's not forget, was as of last year, I don't know if things changed this year or not, Monte Lee was the highest paid assistant coach in college baseball. The highest paid assistant coach in college baseball. And you tell me that he's not at fault for any of this? You're getting paid that kind of money? The hitting, I get it. At times it was good, but at times it wasn't. And like Monte Lee said there, at times in his career, you go find it. I'll give him that. At times they've had success. At times he's had failure, just like anybody. I mean, you do it long enough. Whatever your profession is, you do it long enough, you're going to have times of success and you're going to have times of failure. That's just part of it. Rarely does it always stay at the very top. But Monte Lee, you give him credit. You give him credit. He loves the game. And will he end up on his feet somewhere coaching? I think there's a good chance. Will it be in this state? I don't know. He's an upstate guy. I tell you that. He's got a lot of family ties up here. What other jobs are up north Greenville? USC Upstate, Wofford, Furman doesn't have baseball, right? Couple of places he could end up, and I don't know if he wants to be an assistant coach. I don't know, but I'm sure that he wants to kind of stay close, I would imagine. He wants to stay close. Let's go back to that audio. Again, audio courtesy of Phil Kornblut and Sports Talk Media Network. Monte Lee joined Phil last night, and this is good stuff. Here was the next question from Phil to Coach Monte Lee.
Absolutely. Talking with Monte Lee here on Sports Talk on the day that he got the news that he would not be considered for the head coaching job at South Carolina. So,
my apologies. There is let's see if that ad was removed. There we go.
Why was this team so bad? I'm not asking to criticize. I'm not asking to criticize players, player by player. But it just turned out to be a bad team, and it was a team that couldn't hit. Your highest batting average turned out to be like 263. You know the numbers. I don't have to repeat them here, but why? Yeah. I think the fans just, why did it turn out this way?
Well, that would probably take me a whole nother segment on your show, to try to explain all that. But here's what I can tell you is I think that from the beginning, you have to have a locker room full of guys all wanting to go in the same direction together. And I think in this day and age, when you have money involved and it creates animosity, I think it creates some challenges in a locker room. I think that when you have 20 plus new players together for the first time, the continuity and the togetherness of the team, the brotherhood is very challenging. You feel like brothers. I know what that's like. I played college baseball. The guys I came in with as freshmen, for the 4 years, they're like my brothers by the time you're a sophomore and a junior. Mm-hmm. Kids in this day and age don't experience that. They just don't experience staying together for 2 and 3 years at a time. And we did not have that. We did not have that connective brotherhood, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. And that's what it takes. In my opinion, I think programs in this day and age need that more than ever. I know the portal's not going away, but I think you have to be very strategic in how you recruit out of the portal, and you need to set up your recruiting classes where you have plenty of high school kids coming in that can grow up together in the program and then supplement with the portal. And when you have 4 or 5 guys from the portal coming in, it's like, hey, there's 15 of us who have been here for 3 years together. Welcome to the program. Let us show you how this program is ran and how we do things here. It's really hard to do that when you got 20-something guys that don't know each other and only 9 guys from the year before that are still there, and only 3 from the year before that. Mm-hmm. I think that is the challenge. It's hard to teach kids your offensive philosophy when they come from 15 different schools. And and when they come in as freshmen, you can teach them how you want them to go about their business in the batting cages and on the field and their approaches at the plate and what their identity is. I think that's the key. When you grow up in the program, you can teach them your standards and your philosophies and get them to play the style of baseball that you want them to play. And I would encourage the next leader of this program to do that.
Wow, that's a really good answer. So I'm going to pause that audio there for a second. That's you could spend the whole segment on that answer, I think, when you talk about recruiting philosophies. So I find that really fascinating for a lot of reasons. Number one, I think he's saying that program wasn't constructed the right way at South Carolina. Paul Maneri didn't construct it the right way. I don't know if Mark Kingston left it in the best of shape either. Obviously, he was fired not long ago. But you talk about brotherhood. He mentioned him playing college baseball. And look, does brotherhood win games? No. Does it help? Is it an ingredient? Yes, it is. And he talked about there having that brotherhood. He said it. They didn't have that this year. And when you have all these different transfers, that's just something that I don't think we emphasize and spend enough time talking about, because in this new era of college athletics, yes, somebody out there is still going to find a way to win. They're still going to find a way to win. But the camaraderie and the brotherhood, I don't think we put a big enough emphasis on that. I think that's something that just kind of falls by the wayside a little bit. And he said it right there. This team didn't have that. They didn't have it. And I love Phil Kornblut's answer. Why was this team so bad? They were that bad. Not being, critical, but they were bad. You can't say it without it coming across critical, but they didn't have the brotherhood. And when you have all these guys in, out, sometimes it can hurt. Teams still win with portal guys. The team that wins the World Series this year, guess what? They're going to have portal guys. But it's about having that mix, and I think, Dabo Swinney's talked about that as well, being able to have those guys that are recruited to come into your program so that you can lay that foundation, and they know, like Monty talked about right there, they know what to expect. A couple of more minutes of that audio from Phil Kornblut last night with Monte Lee.
Coach, you brought up a really fascinating point there.
I'll tell you what, we'll get back to it. We are running up against the break, so we'll get right back to that audio. But a lot to get into from that. I do respect the heck out of Monte Lee. I think he's a fantastic ball coach. But I think ultimately South Carolina made the right decision. I do. I think Jeremiah Donati made the right decision. So we'll see what ends up happening in terms of the coaching staff, the hiring process, what that looks like. Obviously, Kevin Schnall, if he's the guy, he's still got a couple of weeks of baseball to be played before his season comes to an end, you would imagine. But we'll see. A lot to get to. And big news today, Monte Lee not retained at South Carolina, among others. Let's continue the conversation when it comes to the Gamecocks. But big news earlier today. What happened? I tweeted it out as soon as the news break. And in case you didn't see it on Twitter yet, South Carolina and North Carolina were supposed to play each other in football. Well, that's not going to happen. Why? I'll tell you. Next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Well, big news today if you are a South Carolina Gamecock football fan. I know we spent the entire first hour thus far talking about baseball, Monte Lee, but no. Football news in May. Good news, bad news, you tell me. I had this on Twitter as soon as we got the press release from the university within the matter of minutes. And here's the big news today. If you're a Gamecock fan, you haven't seen this on Twitter yet. The University of South Carolina and the University of North Carolina football programs announced that they have mutually agreed to cancel their home-and-home football series for the 2028 and 2029 seasons. In a related move, South Carolina has added Bowling Green University to its 2028 football schedule. The Tar Heels were scheduled to play at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia on September 2nd, 2028, with the Gamecocks making the return to Chapel Hill on September 1st, 2029. So the home-and-home Gamecock fans with North Carolina, a team that's been, you've been pretty familiar with them because you played them a couple of times to open the season, right? You had them up there in Charlotte a couple of years ago, I remember, to open the season. So very familiar with them. I thought it was a pretty cool deal going South Carolina versus North Carolina to open the season. Not just that, but them playing. I think it's a good game, a good gate, good opportunity for both fan bases to not have to travel a long way, right? However, that has been canceled. Again, the University of South Carolina and North Carolina have canceled their home-and-home series for 2028 and 2029. And I'll tell you this, Gamecock fans want to hear your reaction on the Joy Law Firm text line at 844-326-3663. But the reaction on Twitter has not been good. The reaction has not been positive. I haven't seen one positive comment yet when it comes to what the reactions have been to my tweet just a couple of hours or an hour or so ago. Touchdown 5 Points, which is a Gamecock-owned sports bar in 5 Points, Columbia, quoted my tweet and said, "This will continue to happen everywhere until strength of schedule is rewarded by the committee." Interesting point there from Touchdown 5 Points. By the way, appreciate the retweet there, Touchdown 5 Points. But again, this will continue to happen everywhere until strength of schedule is rewarded. So coaches saying, we don't need to play North Carolina. We can just go play Bowling Green, right? Playing Bowling Green now instead. Playing Bowling Green instead of North Carolina. Again, the Gamecock fans that I have seen in the replies, not positive toward this news. Essentially, you're having to make decisions. You're having to make decisions based on other people's decisions, like if you're South Carolina. And again, we've talked about this a gazillion times, but this sport, the hard truth is this sport's being controlled by a lot of people who don't care about the sport of college football like you and I do. They care about other aspects of the sport, right? And the dollar signs, but they don't care about it like you and I do. So it is, I don't like it. I don't like it. The South Carolina and North Carolina are canceling this, but it is what it is, right? Tolos, please keep me and other Tolos updated, if you will, on the weather. I saw a Facebook post just a couple of minutes ago from a meteorologist that Dewey's not a fan of about a possible tornado warning. So I'm not sure what the weather is where you are, but you can help other Tolos by relaying that info to me at 844-326-3663, and I can relay it to them. Whether it's in Anderson, Spartanburg, or Greenville, or wherever you may be listening on the Odyssey app or the iHeartRadio app or watching the show, as 35 Tolos are doing right now on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Here in Greenville, the skies don't look great. It's kind of a gray, melancholy feel outside. A lot of high winds, it looks like. I don't see any rain, though. And again, these windows, I don't have the best view. They have some kind of film on them, so I can't tell exactly if it's raining or not. But it doesn't look to be raining here in Greenville on this side of town where I am near Woodruff Road, but it is very, very windy and a lot of clouds. Not just like a summertime pop-up. I mean, the sky is just blanketed with clouds. So if the weather's bad where you are, Tolos, just pass it on. That way other Tolos out there in the upstate can avoid those areas or maybe take a different route. Let's see. Alex Guest from the Saturday Scramble. good friend of the show, he texts in and says, severe thunderstorms coming from the south. Lawrence, Ware Shoals getting hit hard right now. Yeah, he sent me a picture of the radar. They sure are, man. And, Lawrence not far from here at all, where I sit right now. So he says they're coming from the south heading this way. So, Tolos, just be safe out there. Hopefully you don't have a lot to do this evening. Maybe you can get home and hunker down and stop by your local Ingles on the way home and stock up, right? Stock up and get what you need for the weekend, the meat department, the beer and wine section, whatever it is. But I'm looking at the radar now, and Alex is right. The Anderson area, Clemson area getting hit pretty hard right now. Due west, out toward Honeypath. Even Lawrence. My gosh, there's a big storm coming through Lawrence, and I think it's all, I think it's all heading this way. It looks to be. We'll see if those storms break up at all as they make their way through the upstate or weaken a little bit. But Tolos, help each other out and relay info just to keep everybody as safe as possible. Shane Barrett gets in and says, driving from Simpsonville to Spartanburg now. It's overcast but not raining yet, says Shane Barrett. Appreciate that, Shane. Make sure you're safe out there. Appreciate you toloing on this Friday. Texter gets in from the 491 and says, South Carolina has 0 Power 4 non-conference teams on their future schedules other than Clemson. Texter, does that surprise you? Does that surprise you, given where, and I don't mean that in a negative way, a shot towards South Carolina whatsoever, but does that surprise you given the circumstances that they kind of have to win, as many games as they can because their SEC schedule is so difficult? And I hate to be that way, but you've got to kind of you kind of got to be that way if you're Shane Beamer in South Carolina, right? I mean, they don't really, the committee, to the point that I brought up a minute ago, the committee hadn't really rewarded strength of schedules. So you've got to schedule the easy ones. I hate it. I hate that South Carolina is canceling that home and home, but if you're a head coach, it's your job to schedule games. You want to get tested, of course, but you don't have to worry about that in the SEC. You're going to get tested in the SEC. All right, Smitty, good friend of the show, Sports Talk Media Network. We all love Smitty. He joins me next. Well, Tolos, I've been talking your ear off for the entire first hour. You might be sick and tired of hearing just me. If you are, well, you're going to get over it because Smitty, great, not good, great friend of the show, joins me as he joins the show so graciously, so often, and we appreciate his time. Smitty of Sports Talk Media Network joins the show right now to talk all things Clemson, South Carolina, whatever his little heart desires on this Friday. Tolos, appreciate Alex and Shane getting in with some weather updates. Feel free to continue to pass those along as some nasty weather rolling in. Whatever you do relay will help other Tolos out there in the upstate, maybe avoid some areas. So stay safe out there on this nasty Friday afternoon. Smitty, how the heck are you, man?
Oh, I'm so good. Really happy to talk to you without Diesel joining us today. I guess I don't know if you're getting a lot of calls today about mid-major football and hockey to make up for his absence. But
How'd you know? You just read the rundown, I believe. You read the text line. Smitty, a lot to get to. Let's start with the newest news as of late. I had this on Twitter about an hour ago. As soon as we were sent the press release from South Carolina, Smitty, South Carolina canceling a home and home. Well, let me rephrase it. South Carolina and North Carolina agreeing to cancel a home and home football series for 2008 and 2029. I think I said 2008 there. 2028 and 2029. In a related move to that, this one's not going to make fans any happier, but South Carolina has added Bowling Green State University to the 2028 schedule. Smitty, the reaction from Gamecock fans has not been good. They're not happy about that, but this is the reality for South Carolina right now because they have to schedule wins. Is that how you see this?
Oh, no, I think it has more, with everybody agreeing, I think it has everything to do with and remember, North Carolina and South Carolina, the powers in charge of those programs are going to know a lot more than we do about what's coming down the pipe in terms of scheduling for everybody, how the playoffs may be expanded, also how you might get into the playoffs. So it could be that South Carolina and North Carolina looked at this and, obviously those are not two teams competing for a playoff spot last year. But in the future, that's the plan. And they're looking at it and, well, it's not going to help us. It's only going to hurt us to schedule tougher. This, of course, is what we talked about last week, which is all of this is anti-fan, right? When you used to sit down and play NCAA football video game, you schedule as tough as you could because you wanted to make it fun on you. You wanted not just to challenge yourself, you wanted to see all the venues. You wanted to bring the fun teams in. You wanted to schedule Texas. You wanted to see what that would look like, Texas in the SEC, which we've since gotten. But to me, this is symptomatic of what's going on across college football, which is they're talking about expanding the college football playoff, expanding the conference season, and these are the games that are going to get hit the hardest. The kickoff classics are going to get hit. Wasn't it? Who was it that Miami had to cancel with? It's South Carolina. Miami, South Carolina. We've already lost that series. We've lost some things with any team involved. Anytime you're involving the ACC right now, is they're going to expand that conference schedule. You're going to lose marquee games like this, which is a shame. That's what we, the fans, like. It's okay if we get more conference football. But what we don't want is more South Carolina Bowling Green, more South Carolina and money games. And that's what we want less of. And I'm afraid we're not there yet. But that's what I think that eventually we'll move towards.
Yeah, but don't you also think there's a reality that a lot of fans have brought up already in my Twitter mentions today, Smitty, that the College Football Playoff Committee thus far really hasn't shown that they value strength of schedule consistently. So why risk it? And if you can look, you're going to get tested. Getting tested is not the issue here. You're going to get tested in this is not like high school football, right? You're going to get tested in the SEC. So why risk it if the committee has shown that they just care about wins and losses?
Now, that's completely fair because let's just take it from South Carolina's perspective. If this is a South Carolina team that was good in a few years, 28, 29, and they went 5-3 in conference play, no one remembers that they beat North Carolina. They're going to remember whatever happens during conference play. Or against Clemson. That's absolutely true. Go back and look throughout South Carolina's history. It's hard to pick out when they beat North Carolina, when they beat NC State. Were those special years? Were those big years? Not necessarily. And also, the years they lost, did that mean they were trash? Well, not if they turned around and upset an Alabama or an LSU 4 weeks later. So, yeah, unfortunately for some, fortunately and unfortunately, South Carolina is made on what they do in the conference schedule and against Clemson. And North Carolina probably, if I'm honest, needs to toughen its schedule up a little bit. But for whatever reason, they agreed to this. But it might have to do with the ACC, right? That's confirmed. They're going to go to a 9-game conference schedule. That's already happened.
Yeah, it's interesting from that aspect as well, because Smitty, because like you said, the ACC, a much different conference. Your needs and your concerns and what you have to have with the criteria, it is different, depending on what conference you're in. So really interesting stuff. Let me ask you this, Smitty. When it comes to the biggest news as of late, yesterday it was announced by John Whittle of the Big Spur. He had it first that Monte Lee and company were not going to be retained at South Carolina. You guys, Phil Kornblut had Monte Lee on the show immediately after that announcement. And I played some audio from Phil's show last night, earlier today. I thought it was a fantastic interview from Monte Lee and Phil both, but your reaction to that, it didn't really catch me off guard, Smitty. I said a few minutes ago that I believe, and I don't know this to be 100% factual, but I believe that Jeremiah Donati already had his mind made up a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, that this staff was not going to be retained. And I think it was actually really professional to go ahead and cut bait, not toy them around any longer, and let them know what your intentions were, right? And that's exactly what happened. Your reaction was?
Yeah, we talked about this throughout Monte Lee's short time there when he took the interim tag, that if he had a run in it, if they had a run, it would be like Dabo was in 2008 at Clemson. You couldn't deny him the job.
Right.
But if they didn't win, which they didn't, and the slide continues, well, then you can't hire him. So, yes, I think this was professional on all sides, in that Monte Lee's done a lot for the University of South Carolina. You let him go because now what Monte Lee has the opportunity to do is go out and seek a job himself. The earlier he gets out there, the better off for him once it's clear he's not going to get the South Carolina job. And that became clear, as you said, a couple of weeks ago. Now, the other thing is the intel out there is that this is trending toward Kevin Schnall of Coastal Carolina. Landing the South Carolina job. But, I was just listening to J.C. Sherbert talk about this, that, sometimes the best laid plans don't work out because other jobs could open up. And we all might remember, if you're old enough, there was a time it looked like Tom Herman was going to be the next South Carolina coach, or Kirby Smart was going to be the Gamecocks football coach at one point. Then Mark Richt gets fired, Kirby Smart is elevated, and lo and behold, you're on a national championship run, and he never lands with South Carolina. But these things, sometimes what looks like the obvious fit does work out in the end. Now we'll just have to see. And we don't know. There has been some changes in the landscape of college baseball now, where agents are more involved in college baseball than they would have been 10, 12, 15 years ago. I'm sure when Ray Tanner took the job, moved from NC State to South Carolina, he probably picked up the phone himself. Well, now you're calling, James Ramsey's agent. You're calling Kevin Schnall's agent. All of these guys are going to have agents, and you're talking it through them. But I think here's a few guys' takes. I can tell you, Chris Bergen, Sports Talk, he believes that, this has been, you wouldn't let a guy like Monte Lee go out the door without, giving him a shot at the job unless you really felt comfortable that you had your next coach in mind. And we'll see how it all plays out. But Kevin Schnall is, all I can say is, I'm right here in his backyard, covered Coastal. He's a heck of a baseball coach. Now, as far as fit and all the things that go with it, and then the ability to recruit players and have the relationships, in the travel ball circuit and all of those things that come with it, and then deal with NIL, deal with boosters, and deal with the board and all of those things, I don't know. But we don't know those answers about almost anyone, honestly.
Sure.
So if it is Kevin Schnall, all I can say is hell of a baseball man.
No doubt. Here's how I summed it up earlier in the first hour, Smitty, and you tell me your thoughts on this, because I love Monte Lee. I mean, you hear that audio last night from Monte Lee on y'all's show with Phil Kornbluth. How can you not love Monte Lee, right? But here's how I summed it up, because he's had success in this state, but he's also had a little more failure than he's had success. And he's also been at 3 pretty good programs in this state. I said, Smitty, that in today's modern era, being a good coach, and I believe in my heart of hearts that Monte Lee is a good baseball coach. I think you do as well. Not putting words in your mouth, but I think you do as well. I believe, I believe, Smitty, that in today's era, it takes so much more than just being a good coach. And that's not a shot at Monte Lee, but you look at the roster construction, and I think that he might have the right ideals on a lot of things and the right philosophies on a lot of things. But I think you look around the modern era, this modern landscape, it takes so much more than just being a good coach, Smitty.
Well, that's true. But I'll say this. I actually think Monte Lee, life is timing. This is what I said to you often. Life is timing. If Monte Lee would have been given the job directly after Mark Kingston, and not the momentum they had, because obviously Kingston was fired for a reason.
Yeah.
But if you give him that roster and those relationships in the state of South Carolina and just turn it over to him,
right
now I think you've got something, because he could have built it in his own image. But what we will never know the answer to is, it's like being the vice president of the United States. How much of this roster construction did Monte Lee have influence over,
Sure.
and how much of it was Paul Maneri and Terry Rooney? It's kind of like your show. It would be like somebody coming in to fill in your seat, and then they say, well, I didn't like your show yesterday. Well, that's because it's Cole's show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Cole's show, and I was trying to do Cole's show in a way that would fit his audience.
Sure.
And not upset him and just keep it rolling. So I'm going to go easier on Monte than you are, but you're right about this part. It's so much more than being a good baseball coach. This is talked about often, like in our state. Look at Shane Beamer and Dabo Sweeney. They're CEOs. Yeah. Most of what they do is not coaching football. Do you think he spends most of his hours on a football field or watching film? No, that's not where he is most of the time, because that's just the nature of the job in this era. A lot of it is done recruiting. A lot of it is done recruiting recruiters. A lot of it is done recruiting players inside your own locker room. A lot of it is continuing to build your culture in terms of the support outside what's going on, fighting for money for facilities, anything like that. And that's what coaches do. And baseball has gotten more like that than it was before. I actually had this conversation with Austin Alexander today on my high school show, Quarter Friday.
Great show.
Austin Alexander was talking about the fact that, now the rounds of Major League Baseball have been cut down a little bit. And so now you have more players entering college baseball that formerly went into the draft. And you have the transfer portal. So right now that affects recruiting. Well, that is something that you're juggling that, say, Ray Tanner in his era did not juggle. Jack Leggett did not juggle, but Eric Bakich and the next South Carolina head coach will have to contend with all the time. The calendar is not your friend right now in college baseball, and a lot of it has to do with NIL, transfer portal, and balancing that against player development, and how many high school players are you going to take to try to win in 3 years, as opposed to how many transfer portal players are you going to try to take and pay to win next year.
And Smitty, my intentions is not being hard on Monte Lee, because I admit it. Look, he's forgotten more baseball than I'll ever know. But who else in any state, you name the state, you name the coach, who else has been given the opportunities at not one, not two, but 3 different programs in this state, in one state? He's had 3 cracks, and guess what? All 3 are pretty good jobs, Smitty.
Well, I'd agree with that, but I'd argue this too. College of Charleston's a good job because of Monte Lee.
No doubt. He was good there. He was good there. That got him the Clemson job.
Think he deserves all the credit
for
there.
Sure. Yes.
And then at Clemson, his big failing was the same thing that a lot of guys get, the same thing that Chad Holbrook, his big failing, which was not succeeding in the postseason.
Yeah.
Which Monte may have kept that Clemson job had this not been on the heels of Jack Leggett, one of the winningest coaches in college baseball, to never win a College World Series.
Right.
So after you had done that, the whole mission was, we have to find somebody to win a College World Series. And so it was all about postseason success. The same reason Chad Holbrook did not keep the South Carolina job. If you go back and look at his win percentage at South Carolina, it's excellent. But he didn't have big-time postseason success. This is, of course, back then in the era. This is on the heels of South Carolina going to 3 straight College World Series finals, winning 2 of them. It's just what he was up against. Imagine Chad Holbrook, who having the success he had at Charleston, if he'd never had the South Carolina job. He'd be a candidate for it right now. He'd be one of the guys that we'd be chatting about. So that's the way these things work. That's what I mean by life is timing. You follow Ray Tanner, you follow Jack Leggett, and in Monte Lee's case, he followed Paul Mainieri, which is the worst case scenario, because it turns out, now that we have hindsight 2020, that roster was hollow, and we didn't know that going into the season, but we see it now.
No, you're right. We're joined by Matt Smith, Smitty, of Sports Talk Media Network, good friend of the show. Always appreciate his time. When you look, though, at that timing, and I agree with you, that is so important with anybody, any job, timing. I agree. But I think what hurt Monty, Smitty, not trying to harp on this too much, but when you go back to Kingston's exit, I believe, and I don't know this to be fact, I've heard some of this, but I believe that Ray Tanner had already he had already reached in the right pocket where he pulled out the Chad Holbrook, and then he reached in the left pocket and pulled out the Mark Kingston, and then he went in the back pocket and got Paul Mainieri. I don't think he felt like he could go back to the right pocket again and hire Monte Lee, his buddy, after he already hired Chad Holbrook. I don't know that to be true. That's what I feel. That's just kind of the sense, because he went out in left field and got Paul Mainieri.
It's very interesting that you say that. Look, the other thing is, at that point, Monte Lee's tenure at Clemson was still fresh.
Sure.
Meaning he looked like it didn't end well at Clemson and he got fired. So then it would have looked like South Carolina was going after Clemson.
Recycle. Yep.
Exactly. So now you're in a tight spot.
Yes.
It's not like he left on top. See, that's what, if you go out and you get a coach that had coached to your rival, like Brent Venables, let's say Brent Venables would have been available and South Carolina would have gotten him. That'd have been a big time hire. Everybody said, well, that's an incredible hire. Not the fact that he'd been at Clemson, notwithstanding, he was a big time hire, and he's getting it done at Oklahoma. But if you would have gone out at any point and hired, say, Tommy West at South Carolina as your head coach after being unceremoniously fired at Clemson, now all of a sudden you look like you're the kid brother. And look, everybody can have their opinion about South Carolina and Clemson, who runs things. The baseball's gone back and forth. Clemson's had more success in football, all those things. But perception can be reality, and you never want to make it look like you're the little brother to your rival. Nobody wants to be Michigan State to Michigan.
Right. No, you're 100% right. Smitty, when you talk about Kevin Schnall, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked John Whittle yesterday of Gamecock 247. Kevin Schnall, I believe, a lot of people believe is going to be the target, right? He's going to be the guy South Carolina goes after. Is there any way in your mind, like if you were at the casino about to sit down and play someone, like is there any way that this just doesn't go as expected maybe because I don't believe, I said in the last hour, I don't believe any conversations have happened yet, like officially. There might have been some, hey, send the carrier pigeon down there with this message. I don't believe any official conversation. Correct me if you know more than I do there. I don't believe like official conversations have happened yet with Kevin Schnall still being in the most important part of the season. But do you believe that once those conversations start ramping up, there is maybe room for error, something we didn't consider, and this possibly doesn't work out?
Yes. That was the point I was making earlier that J.C. Sherbert had made. J.C. Sherbert of Inside the Gamecocks had said something similar, that in the 11th hour, to use let's use your casino. Let's say you're playing blackjack and you're sitting there and you're sitting on a 15. Well, now you don't know whether to, maybe you feel good. You've been counting cards. You feel really good. A 6 is coming out. But what if it's a 7 and then something happens? How about another one of the jobs opens up and all of a sudden Kevin Schnall, there may be a job. We saw Tony Vitello hired out of Tennessee last year into the big leagues, the San Francisco Giants. Okay, if a job, and I'm not saying Schnall will have that, I'm saying, what if musical chairs begins? and there's an opening somewhere that then draws a lot of interest, and somebody takes that job, and then another high-profile SEC or ACC job opens up. Then what? I mean, everybody's talking about everybody. James Ramsey is a hot commodity out of Georgia Tech. So if he moves somewhere, and then somebody moves into that job, what potential job does that open up in the Southeast?
Sure.
So in other words, Kevin Schnall's agent may not have taken his last call. So that's a factor. And as you said, official things wouldn't have happened at this point. And that's right, because I was in the press conference when Clemson had beaten Coastal Carolina a couple of weeks ago. I was there. Bill Cornbluth's next to me. He asked the question of Schnall, what are your feelings about after this season? I'm sure you're taking calls, or your agent is. And Schnall said, my agent will call me, but I'm focused on this team. And here's the thing. I actually believe it, because Kevin Schnall knows that his stock only goes up the better Coastal does this year.
No doubt.
This is on the heels of what they did last year, reaching the College World Series final game against LSU. He knows that if they go on a run here and he keeps his focus there, all that happens is the zeros that they offer him just keep going up. So I think that Schnall is focused on it. So you ask me, can something happen at the last minute? Absolutely, 100%. I would only say that I'm not saying that I think Schnall is going to be the target. I'm saying people I trust, like you were talking about John Whittle, Gamecock 24/7, like J.C. Sherbert, like Jamie Bradford inside the Gamecocks. These people are saying they've talked to others that believe he's the target, and that's why I believe it as well. But that doesn't mean this is going to happen by any means. There might be names we haven't even mentioned yet in these interviews that could come in the last minute, become available, that change Jeremiah Donati's mind.
Smitty, one of the most intriguing parts about last night's interview that your co-part Phil Kornblut had with Monte Lee, he said, look, I'm going to be fine. He's from here. He's born in Spartanburg, South Carolina, as you were, as I was. He's got family ties in the state, in the upstate, a lot of upstate ties. He loves it here, right? He's going to be fine, but he also said that he wants to land on his feet. Now, he's running out of South Carolina jobs to coach at, right? Like, there aren't many more left. Yep. Furman doesn't have a job for him. USC Upstate, maybe. Wofford, maybe. There are a few others out there. Maybe, I don't know. But let me ask you this. This is a two-part question. Where do you see Monte Lee ending up? Is it in this state? And then the second part is, if you had to really think about this long and hard, would you say, Cole, think about it? Or, Cole, you're wasting your time with that thought? Just a good old-fashioned swapperoo. South Carolina gets Kevin Schnall. Coastal Carolina gets Monte Lee. What do you think?
I think, for one thing, it'd be a fantastic hire. If Coastal's job were open, they would do great to land Monte Lee. I think that would be an outstanding fit for him. But this could be one of those situations, because you said Monte Lee has all these ties to the state of South Carolina. But you see, what he's dealing with is what you've talked about. Everybody in this state has an opinion about Monte Lee.
Yeah.
Everybody. And if you're a baseball person, you have a strong opinion because you've seen him for so long. You've known him as a player. He played pro ball. You've seen him as a coach at 3 different schools inside the state, as a head man. You've seen him as an assistant at multiple schools. I'll use a biblical reference for you.
Yeah.
A prophet hath no honor in his own land.
Okay.
Oftentimes, you need to get outside of where you have ties. Sometimes it works to come back home. Sometimes it works, you know what? I've got to put my gunny sack on, hit the road, and go somewhere else to find my success. Chris Lamonis,
correct.
Well, who played on the 1990 Citadel baseball team that went to the College World Series, goes to Mississippi State and wins the College World Series there. And, look, he was unceremoniously fired, but by the same token, he'd never have to buy a beer in Starkville, Mississippi for the rest of his life if he didn't want to. So these things can happen where you can leave the state where you have so many ties and have great success. Some people may forget, Jack Leggett was not a South Carolina guy. He came from Maine. Ray Tanner was not a South Carolina guy. He was in North Carolina. He grew up in North Carolina, coached NC State. He left where he had such strong ties, where he knew every high school coach, where he knew the lay of the land, and he took a chance to go south to Columbia, South Carolina, wins 2 College World Series, and now he's got a statue.
That's a good point.
And the field named after him. You never know. You might have to leave. So that was one my father mentioned to me when I was a kid.
Love
a prophet
that.
hath no honor in his own
Love
land.
Love that.
Sometimes you need to leave because there's a lot of schools out there that aren't in South Carolina that would just say, hey, we got Monte Lee, guy who had a lot of success at Clemson, guy who was well thought of by Ray Tanner, guy who won a bunch at the mid-major level at Charleston, been an assistant everywhere. Dodgers hired him as a roving instructor at one point. Yeah, I like this guy.
No, I think that's a good point. Love the proverb, by the way, as well. Smitty, sorry for keeping you so long today. Is there anything that you are thinking right now? Man, we just spent all this time together, but Cole failed to ask me about. Fill in the blank.
Look, well, you know what? We didn't talk about Clemson baseball. You know, I was up there in Charlotte.
Well, they don't deserve to be talked about, Smitty. They were terrible.
I was just up there. Well, if everybody did not listen to Eric Bakic's kind of his post-mortem on the season, this is right after they were eliminated by Notre Dame, 5-4 ball game. And Bakic, he knew what he was going to say. He kind of launched right into it. He briefly gave Notre Dame credit, then didn't want to talk about that game, wanted to talk about how disappointed he was in the season. But he really talked about not sweeping changes, but sweeping improvement. He said he's got to go back to year one stuff. They didn't do what was necessary by taking the time to win every day in practice, meaning they didn't knock down the fundamentals in practice, and he thinks it showed up in the games. Even though the roster looked good from afar, they just didn't put it together on the field. And, of course, he took all the responsibility for that. But you're right. They don't deserve to be talked about. South Carolina doesn't deserve to be talked about except that they have an opening.
Yeah.
Coastal, and hey, the Citadel. Might want to give that Citadel score. Russell Triplett might be in line for a bigger job as well.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. They were horrible before Russell Triplett got there.
Yep.
The Citadel was. So that's a good point.
I'll take it. Russell Triplett, here's one of the reasons I like him. Because his attitude is whatever it takes. This is what Kevin Schnall brings too. I can tell you there's 3 guys that I've watched closely this year, that I've watched closely in recent years. Todd Interdonato, who was at Wofford and now is at Boston College, Kevin Schnall at Coastal Carolina, and Russell Triplett at the Citadel. They all have the same attitude, which is whatever it takes. And what by that they mean they'll bunt their number 3 hitter if they have to.
Right.
They will have their batters practice, taking pitches on, between the numbers at the plate so that they can get on base. They work hard on going first to third. They work hard on their bunt defense and situations. They don't think they're just going to out-recruit everybody. So those are 3 guys at the Citadel, now Interdonato, Wofford to Boston College. You can see the connection there in terms of what kind of player you can get. You're not going to get Florida State, North Carolina level players when you're at Boston College. At Kevin Schnall at Coastal Carolina and Russell Triplett at the Citadel, which you have to recruit a specific type of person. All 3 of those guys say, okay, I can't just beat them straight up. I've got to beat them neck up. And that's why they might be good fits for some of these bigger jobs, because they have all done something that you haven't seen South Carolina and Clemson do, and that's overachieve with the roster they've got.
Yeah. No, that's 100% accurate. They have not, especially this year with Eric Bakich. Very surprising. Well, Smitty, enjoy the nice, wonderful weather down there in the low country while we get some pretty nasty storms up our way back in your old stomping grounds. But good to hear from you. I really do. I know I tell you this a lot. I really do appreciate your time. Can you shout out your show one more time that you do on Friday mornings? I'm a big fan of it. It's a high school show, and you do you guys, not just you guys do a great job.
Yeah, that's me and Rob Williams on 4 Quarter Fridays. Yes. It's on YouTube. And Cole, we've had you on. We're going to have you back on, of course, but we were having so many, Burns coaches and other people from the upstate. We were trying to spread the love around. But last night there was a big game, Dorman Spartan High at Duncan Park.
Wasn't close.
Historic Duncan Park. No, that one wasn't close. Ooh. But yeah, we're going to have you back on there. But everybody just go to YouTube, 4 Quarter Friday. And, of course, all the work we do with the Sports Talk Media Network. And yeah, we're going to have you back on. So if you're a big fan of Cole Bryson, look for him, because we'll be talking upstate football with Cole Bryson this summer and fall.
That would be an audience of none. Smitty, you're the best. Always appreciate you.
Talk to you later, man.
Smitty, Sports Talk Media Network. Always appreciate his time. Good stuff there. We had a lot to unpack. I know we went long, but we did have a lot to unpack. Tolos, get in on the conversation. 844-326-3663. A little disappointment last night for the Carolina Hurricanes. Also a check-in on the NBA. Some pretty interesting series going on. I want to hear from you. By the way, here in Greenville, I think the nasty weather's hit me. Looking outside, it's rain. I don't know if it's raining now or has been, but the ground outside's pretty wet, and I heard some pretty nasty thunder just a few minutes ago when we had Smitty on. So, Tolo, stay safe out there wherever you are. Let us know where the weather's getting pretty bad. That way I can relay it to other Tolos across the upstate that may be listening, traveling in this junk. We'll do a little NBA check-in next.
jeans that fit just right, and the radio.
Well, a quick check-in on what's happening in the NBA. I do know our pal Diesel was upset last night, though, because he texted me. I didn't watch the Hurricanes game. They were off. I think he told me they were off for like 863 days from their last playoff game. I know that might be a little bit dramatic, but they were off a long time, and we even talked about it on the show. And last night they kind of looked like that. They kind of looked rusty. The Canadians defeated. The Canadians defeated the Hurricanes 6-2 last night on Thursday. So Montreal now leads the series over Carolina 1-0. Again, 6-2 final score there in the NHL. What about the NBA? Last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers went down 2-0 to the New York Knicks after a 109-93 win for the New York Knicks. And boy, do the Knicks look good. I mean, boy, do they look good. Speaking of the Knicks, let me get to this tweet from earlier. Cocky for a Reason, who we love, who is one of our Tolos, he tweeted at Diesel and I, and here it is. He said, somebody please stop the New York Knicks. The Knicks fan base will be insufferable if they win. A close second is the Dallas Cowboys fan base. So, look, even as a Cowboys fan, Cocky for a Reason, I can admit we are a pretty insufferable fan base. I admit it. But I don't know. That's a good question for you, Cocky, and the Tolos out there. I mean, I would imagine most Tolos out there would think that the Cowboys fan base is more insufferable than the New York Knicks. It's a big fan base. New York has a huge fan base. Obviously, the Knicks hadn't been good in a while, but it's a big, big fan base, and they're really good. Like, it might not just be what the Cowboys are used to, and that's just kind of a whole lot of nothing, right? Sounds like they're really good. The regular season wins don't equate to the postseason wins a lot of times, but no, I think with the Knicks, I think this is a good team. So now they're up 2-0 on Cleveland, and boy, they look in control. Not saying this series is over because both of those games have been at home for New York, but I do think that, man, they're the better team, first of all. They've definitely got the advantage now with them having a 2-0 lead now going to Cleveland for Game 3. Also in the NBA, in the Western Conference Finals, the Oklahoma City Thunder will play the San Antonio Spurs. By the way, what a great series that's been. That series is tied at 1. I've actually watched both of those, and it's been enjoyable. Like, really, really enjoyable. That series is 1-1 tie. Like I said, tied at 1-1. Game 3 tonight, 8:30. The Thunder and the Spurs going at it. Both 60-plus win teams. And I don't know. I predicted Oklahoma City to win this series, I think, in 6. Now I could see them winning in 7. I think it's – after watching those first 2 games, now I'm leaning that this series will go 7 games because, my goodness, they're both super competitive. But I don't know. San Antonio has impressed me more. Oklahoma getting Williams back will be a big, and I mean a big positive, obviously. But I don't know where I am on this series right now because it's a very good series, and I know that there aren't a ton of NBA fans here in the upstate, but for those that are, this one's going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one tonight, 8:30, Spurs and Oklahoma City. San Antonio right now favored by 1.5. The total set at 218.5. Money line, Oklahoma City on the money line is plus money tonight, which is rare. I'll talk about how rare in the Daily Wires, but that's how your NBA slate looks tonight. Let's get to those Daily Wires. Our top head. Wait. I apologize. I did not see the call. I did not see the phone lines lighting up. I apologize. I am so low, so I sometimes don't get to the phone lines quite as quick. Who do we have? Kev, I'm glad you called before. I was about to go to break and just absolutely not see the green flashing light over here in the corner that alerts me that we have a phone call. But how are you, man?
Man, just chilling, man. Cloud's about to rain, got some water here in a little bit, man.
Yeah, about 20 minutes ago, I had some bad thunder here. It looks like it's raining either now or has been. It's pretty nasty out. Like I said, be safe out there, man.
Yeah, we usually have a Friday Night Lights, little flag thing on Fridays, but we ain't gonna have that tonight. So I guess me, you, and somebody else got to go play some one-on-one down at the field somewhere.
Oh, what are we? Hey, you tell me what we're. I mean, I'm in. Where are we going? What? I mean, you tell me.
Me, you, Rick, who else?
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
We get us a little squad together. We need to get everybody that played backyard football together and show these kids now how to really get into playing football. Because
might want to stick to like an indoor sport tonight, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be indoor. It's gonna be some indoor with some forks and knives and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Hey, I'm down. You know I can eat. I'm good at eating. You tell me where. Hey, I'm good at that. I was at mine and your spot last night, by the way.
My mama wanted to go down there a while ago.
Oh, tonight?
Yeah, I told you, if you a night like tonight, it's gonna be 600.
It's gonna be packed. It's gonna be packed. I was there last night. I was there late, but good crowd last night.
I see. I might have to get back. But hey, man,
tell me what time to meet you there. I'll be there.
Let's meet and put it, and we'll put it on Diesel's tab.
Yes. Hey, what do you think about these two NBA series right now?
I love it. Like, if the refs do not cause any game or cause any, this is probably going 7. But at the end, I think now Oklahoma is gonna have to play their best game. Like they played with the Lakers. They've been playing.
Yeah.
Nobody but San Antonio has had they ticket.
Getting Williams back will be big though, Kev, for them.
It's
second best player.
It's gonna be big, but I tell you what, it's gonna have to. I'm gonna put it on Chet. If Chet don't hold Wemby down,
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I ain't gonna really say hold him down. You're gonna have to go for it too. He's gonna have to have a 30 and 20 kind of night.
Yeah.
He gonna have to go at Wemby and make Wemby work on both ends, because if not, San Antonio can easily put these boys out in 5 or 6.
Sure. No, I'm with you on that. Hey, let me tell you this real quick. I'm sick and tired of seeing SGA. He's a phenomenal player. But, Kev, he literally, and I'm not exaggerating, he literally flops on every shot attempt. Every one. He falls down. And it's awful to watch.
It's irritating to watch. And then, like, his demeanor, like, I'm a body language guy. Like, his body language to me, like, he's too good. Like, he's that. I don't know. I just don't get it with him. Like, he don't excite me.
I'm with you.
I'm with you. He's not exciting to watch, though. He really ain't. But he slowly just slow rolls you, and just next thing you know, he got 30 points and this and that. And then the rest of them fall out. Now, I like their team that the second group can come in and still put points up and still do what they do. But I think right now, if they bench fall off any little bit, San Antonio is gonna blow this out the water. It's gonna take OKC's bench to really win.
It's a good series, man. It's a good series.
Good series, great series. And I tell you what, James, like, we talk about this a good bit every now and then. The NBA should take your NBA, NFL, MLB. If you go out there and give a half-butt performance and they see it, take some money back, man.
Yeah.
Take some money, like, don't give him this because you got this contract. I know you're not giving it, so we're gonna take this money back, because James Harden, he need to go. He about need to retire too.
You know what though? I thought he was on to something there for a minute this postseason. You know, I mean, I kind of felt like, man, the Cleveland Cavaliers playing like a formidable team. And look, give them credit; they won a lot of games with a playoff team. But you're right; thus far, they've looked outmatched against New York, just totally outmatched.
And in the East, if you put any kind of little decent team together in the East, you're going to make a run. Right. Nobody in the East is like that.
That's why I think LeBron might consider going home to Cleveland.
If you're going to do something, go to Cleveland. Just go to the East, so I do not have to see you all the time.
Right.
Now, if he goes somewhere, now if I'm LeBron at this age, stop trying to make it about you at 42.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
If LeBron got $6 million for a season. $6 million. I don't know if they do the signing bonus thing or not, but $6 million get you 3 or 4 players that's good. You come in and just do what you do when you get in. You might finish the game with 12, 8, and 4.
Right.
Cool. Then the playoffs come. You're on a great team. Now it's your time to go get it when it's your time. But right now, cut it out, bro. Like $50 million. If they give him $50 million to come back to the Lakers, I'm going up there myself. I'm going to meet.
You gonna go up there? I love it. Hey, who do you think Dallas hires, Kev? And by the way, because I love talking to you, Tolos, I'm pushing the Daily Wires to 5:45 instead of 4:45, so me and Kev can go a little long here. Who do you think Dallas goes after?
What did Jason Kidd do anyway?
Well, you mean to deserve to be fired, or are you defending him?
I'm not like I want to know like what did he? You had some injuries, then you wanted to tank, then you didn't
I think
want to
Jason
tank?
Kidd's top 5, top 8 coach in the NBA, personally.
Right. Like so they hired him to bring in their own person who they're thinking about because they got. But he wanted to be in the office after old buddy got fired.
Right.
But
New regime. Yep. New regime. And that means that has a lot to do with it, right? New owner, like new regime up there in the front office.
I get it. I tell you what, he'll land on his feet somewhere. Somebody might let their coach go just to bring in Jay Kidd. Like right now,
no doubt,
I would let JJ Redick go just so I can go get Jay Kidd.
Well, he's a good coach. I mean, JJ's a good coach too. Here's a fun one for you. We talked. He's a good coach. JJ's a good coach. Look what he's done.
He's done better. I get it.
He's a good coach. Good coach.
His team didn't play. You got a team that don't want to play no D.
Yeah, I think. Hey, let's do this. Let's judge JJ Redick after LeBron, right? And maybe it's a little unfair. I don't know. Let's see what he does after LeBron hangs it up or leaves or whatever. Kev, you're the best. Always appreciate you. Let's get together real soon and look forward to hearing from you again.
Yeah, we're going to the spot and talk and look at the view and talk about some other stuff.
We need to. You tell me, Haley, you tell me when I'm there.
I'll text you.
Appreciate you, Kev. Always good to hear from you. 844-326-3663. We're going to get on the Braves in the next segment. Daily Wires push to 5:45. Atlanta Braves update. Hey, I'm going to a Braves game this weekend. Are you, Tolos? Have you been to it? I know Shane Barrett has, Rick and Greer has, a few others. I'm going to my first Braves game this season. Not my first Braves game, my first Braves game this season this weekend. We'll talk about those Atlanta Braves next. Brew Fighter on YouTube says, hopefully the weather stays dry for you this weekend, Cole Brew Fighter. I hope so as well, man. I'm going to the Braves game tomorrow. I did look at the hourly for Atlanta, and it looks like tomorrow is going to be fine. You know, that stuff can change, obviously, and not a lot between now and then. But we'll see. Going to my first Braves game this year tomorrow. They are playing the Nationals this weekend. Tonight, I don't know what the weather's doing in Atlanta. I know the weather's pretty bad right here right now. Corn Chip texts in and says, yeah, the rain finally made it over this way. I've got some drizzle. I'm on Pelham right now, so not too far from me. Tolo, stay safe wherever you are, as the weather out there I'm seeing is getting pretty nasty. Some of the storms headed up from the south. But the Braves back in action tonight. We'll see if it's delayed or what happens. That one is scheduled for 7:15. Might be a later start, but I don't know what the storm situation is in Atlanta. Regardless, a big win. They took another series, did the Bravos. They're on fire, and we'll continue to talk about them. But let's get back to the Gamecocks next, right here on the Fan Up State.